Oh,
We're in linen.
So
I was going to get my beads.
why don't you get your beats?
Got the cult shirt on, mate.
You don't want to go...
The cult leader shirt.
Yeah. No, I thought we'll go with this because it's like corporate, but I'm also here to party.
There's nothing about this.
Nothing.
It's got a collar.
Corporate. It's bar and corporate.
Yeah,
And also bar and party.
that's corporate.
Yeah, also
That's
bar
corporate
party.
if your company sells Marley beads at the markets.
Hang on, I've got to do that. Cover the
You've
yoga
got one
body.
button done up.
I'm very relaxed, as you can tell. I've been stretching.
Ready to roll, mate.
Yeah, audio's on, hey?
We're going.
Yeah.
We're live.
This is what I like. Getting into it like this.
Yeah. Let the conversation flow, lads.
For coming over from Thailand, mate, crazy. From where you were at.
Had to be done. Had to be done, mate. I got the invitation from Tristan, and it was something I couldn't turn down, man. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and be part of the course and catch up with you boys. Get to meet you lads for the first time and see you again.
Yeah.
Be part of history in the making.
Yeah, I think it's exciting to go forward from here, and then just using you. This is an eye opener to yoga that the boys are going to be able to do. Like, and I think that's what some of the studios have got to figure out. Like, just take the woo out of it. The boys are already doing it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, you spoke about in one of those sessions yesterday where your sister taught you some breathing techniques that you use in Afghanistan, and you knew you were going in shitty areas and use that breathing technique to kind of pull yourself back into a more meditative state and fucking calm down a little bit.
And you know what's weird is that everyone did it individually. I think, like, because I mean, you go in your wank booth in your beds, and so everyone's
No
going
denying that.
No, and everyone's going to bed, closing the curtains, and then everyone's left to themselves at night time. So no matter what's been going on or what bravado's been happening, and you're like, righto, now I'm with myself on my own.
Yeah.
How am I going to get to sleep?
How can I deal with this?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's fucking awesome what Tristan's doing, man, and that's pretty much how Blind Tiger started. He's been using all these tools for many, many years, and I've had some good conversations with him, and he was like, yeah, I felt a little bit selfish for using these tools myself and not sharing them with other lads. So that's pretty much the concept of how Blind Tiger started. Yeah, which is pretty cool.
He's a big yogi bear. He is. He's
Yeah.
a chill dude, man.
Yeah.
That's what this space needs. This space needs dudes who were heavy hitters that are like, I'm doing some of the fluffy stuff now, but we're going to take the fluff out of it and show you why it's good for human performance.
Yeah, I like what was it Beck who was saying? It just gives you that opportunity to. So they talk about breathing in combat shooting, and the physiological effects of actually breathing, and then seeing that in this and giving your brain clarity, so that you can make decisions by breathing. Because I know as soon as if I'm in traffic or if something's happening and I'm getting stressed, the first thing to go is I stop breathing or I slow down. My breathing's like, I'm holding my breath.
Yeah.
Breathing.
And then that affects everything else, man. You hold your breath for long enough, your muscles start tensing up, your heart rate starts increasing. It has this physiological flow-on effect.
Yep.
So it's one thing that I realized. I told the story yesterday about how I was using breathing to get to sleep in Afghanistan when all that shit went down. We might talk about that later on, but I didn't know it at the time. But I was like, I need something to fucking get to sleep, man. Because if I don't get to sleep, then I'm not going to be able to perform. I'm not going to be able to function. I'm going to be a fucking liability, man. So, I literally just sat there and counted my breaths, took deep breaths in, long breaths out, and counted my breaths. And, it was a big part of the process for me, and being able to get to sleep and being able to actually perform and function whilst overseas. So, it's something that I've implemented since then, and I've refined the practice as I've gone through it. And now I do have a breath work practice every morning. It's part of my morning routine. I make it part of my morning routine, but I just throw it in with other things that are beneficial for me as well. So I've got a sauna at my place in Thailand, so I'm pretty lucky. So part of my morning routine is I'll get up and I'll go and swim some laps because I suck at swimming, but I want to get better at it. So I'm not going to swim to train. I'm fucking swimming to get better at swimming, and that's part of the process. I literally have to focus on my breathing and my technique, because if I don't, then I just fucking sink like a rock. Then after that I'll roll into my sauna and I'll sit there and I'll literally just close my eyes and take 50 breaths, and I'll throw in a little bit of box breathing here and there, and that 50 breaths sometimes might take me 10 minutes, sometimes it might take me 13, 14 minutes, but I'll just use the 50 breaths, and then I'll fucking, my central nervous system's calmed down, I'm in a parasympathetic state, and then I'll have a stretch and address anything that's tight and wound up, and then I'll roll into my day.
And I think that's so. When you're using it for it's performance. You know what I mean, it's optimizing performance by doing some things that. So the yogis inadvertently, like back in the day, knew some things were good, and they put a spiritual spin on it.
Yep.
And or corporate, like, oh, you got to wear, if you're going to do yoga, you got to wear linen shirts, Marley beads, and or can you just be a dude?
You've accepted it in less than 7 days.
I'm with it. I'm a sellout.
Yeah. Is that kombucha?
This is naturally sourced, organic,
fair trade
coffee.
Yeah.
In a repurposed glass. No, it's not. They bought them.
But I think that's a good point, man. Is there's so many fucking benefits in so many different modalities, but you just got to take what's applicable and discard the rest. And, you know, the I think for the yoga, the most important aspect for me is that, you know, balance of the autonomic nervous system, pulling you back into a parasympathetic state and actually just fucking chilling out and resting and, you know, focusing on the breath and, you know, focusing on stress reduction rather than going into a hard yoga class and fucking hammering yourself through a vinyasa flow that's...
Yeah, that's something I think we want to get into, because we haven't spoke about the sympathetic, parasympathetic, have we?
Not yet, but I mean, even that, I think that's why we're looking at, when we do take this out and try and get the boys more into yoga, it's really just high performance stretching. And I think there is, for people who aren't into yoga, like there is that yin yang opposing styles. I don't think any of us are ever going to go to yoga to get a workout, to do that like high speed, quick movement shit. I think most of us are going to use it for that long, slow yin stretch.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a lot of people, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I think a lot of the boys look at yoga and they see chicks in tight pants doing these fast-paced movements and like, I'd rather just go and do fucking CrossFit or go to the gym if it's for a workout.
Yeah.
But the long, slow shit's what we want to be looking at to get
100%, man. I mean, a little bit of my background, I was a soldier for 6 years, and once I got out of the army in 2012, after my last trip, I met a girl and moved down to Tasmania with her. I was there for 5 years. She was a yoga teacher. Right, so I'm like going to the gym and hammering myself with my training, and I've got that athlete soldier mentality where I'm fucking getting after it every time I train. And I thought I'd be a good boyfriend and go into a yoga class and support my girlfriend, and you know, she's got me doing this fucking vinyasa flow, like power yoga, holding these fucking warrior poses, these isometric contractions after I've done a heavy leg session. I'm just fucking shaking, man. I couldn't hold the position. I'm sweating bullets. And
like I've done my workout.
Yeah, I'm like, holy fuck, this is not complimentary for my lifestyle, for my style of training. That's the style of yoga that people do, that yogis do when they don't fucking lift. Or when they don't do any other form of training. That is literally their movement for the day. You know, so it wasn't complimentary, and it wasn't until I actually met Tristan, or I'd known Tristan from the army days, but once he actually became a yoga teacher and got transitioned from the army, went to commercial diving, and then transitioned into yoga. It wasn't until I actually went to some of his classes and he showed me what yin was all about, and we're fucking holding these poses, holding these postures, or stretches, if you want to call it, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It doesn't matter what the words are, but we're holding these stretches for, 8, 9, 10, up to 12 minutes, and just focusing on the breath and letting the body sink into that. So that was really where I saw the benefit. But that's a good point about the autonomic nervous system. Do you want me to talk about that a little bit? Yeah. So going back to the example of the power yoga, I'd come from the gym, so I'd already put myself into a sympathetic state. This is our fight or flight state. I was already in that state. I'm going into yoga to focus on the parasympathetic state. Everything's all about balance. The more I push into a sympathetic fight or flight state, the more I need to pull back into a parasympathetic rest and digest state. So it's essentially a stress response.
The guys are like, it's automatic. So these are your brain is reacting to what you're putting your body through, right?
Yeah, exactly. And your body doesn't understand the difference between a real threat and a perceived threat. So a real threat might be you fucking driving along at 100 kilometers an hour and some asshole pulls out in front of you. A perceived threat is you fucking wake up late, the sun's up, and you shit yourself because you've slept through your alarm. The stress response is going to be the same. It's going to be dose dependent, meaning that if someone pulls out at 100 while I'm doing 100, someone pulls out, it's going to be a fucking high response. If I'm only doing 50 and someone pulls out, it's going to be a lower response. If I'm doing 10, it's going to be a lower response again. So it's important to know that, the higher response you have, and the harder you swing in one direction into the sympathetic state, for example, then the more time, energy, and resources you need to pull yourself back into a parasympathetic state. So this is where the problem is, and I think that's why, chronic stress becomes a thing, and that leads to anxiety and depression, is because people don't have control because they can't balance their stress response.
They don't have a modality, is your terminology. They don't have a method to relax themselves other than let's go and smash 1,000 beers.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, man. I do this with my clients all the time. There's a acute stress. Here's the thing. Acute stress is necessary for survival. You're fucking evolutionary speaking, you're walking along, bear comes out of the woods. Right, fight or flight. There's a physiological process that occurs. So your pupils are going to dilate so you can see better. Then your muscles are going to tense up so you can fight or fucking run away. Right? Then your heart rate's going to increase blood flow. Then your respiratory rate's going to increase oxygen supply. Then your body's going to start pushing resources and mobilize energy away from the digestive system so that you can fucking essentially like just use your limbs to fight something off or run away, right? So that's an important distinction. Like, I'm sure people listening and you guys yourself have trained so fucking hard that you can't eat for hours afterwards. That's a sure sign that you've pushed yourself so far into a sympathetic state, right? Because your body's like, right, I'm in this sympathetic state, like I just can't deal with any food in my digestive system right now. And this is where you see marathon runners and things like that will like literally shit themselves. They'll lose control of all their functions because they've pushed so far into a sympathetic state, right? So what we want to do is balance that out and pull ourselves back into a parasympathetic state. So going back to that evolutionary perspective, when you have a bear come out of the woods, you fucking run away, right? You get into a place where, all right, cool, I'm in a safe place now. There's nothing around. I'm in a safe environment. That's when your body, the physiological processes change. There's this cascade of, of hormones that are changing to pull yourself back into this parasympathetic state. So when you get into this safe space, your body goes, all right, cool, let's like constrict the pupils a little bit. Let's calm down. Let's reduce the respiratory rate, the heart rate. Let's decrease the tension in the muscles, the tone in the muscles. Let's start pooling the blood and the resources back in the digestive system. When that happens, then when you drink water, then when you eat your food, your body's able to rehydrate a lot better and then break down, digest, absorb, and assimilate these nutrients. Once your body does that, then it also goes, fuck, I only just survived that last scenario. Now I'm going to start, upregulating my central nervous system, my neural drive. I'm going to start building some muscle, some more power, some speed, so that I can deal with that situation a little bit better next time. So it's all about that balance, man. I think it's been a fucking missing part it was definitely a missing part in my life for a long time, and I'm sure you guys can probably say the same thing.
100%. Is that so? I mean, it's like going to the gym at 8 o'clock at night, right, and doing a massive session,
Yep.
and then you're like, I just can't get to sleep.
Yep.
Because your body's like, nah, man, we're
You're
still
stimulated.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're in this. You've put yourself in this sympathetic state, and it's interesting you talk about that because you got to think about the implications of blue light on the body. Blue light's a naturally occurring, light. Throughout the day, blue light occurs naturally. It's actually been shown to increase alertness. So basically, you got to think about like your hormone profiles throughout the day, circadian rhythm, right? You wake up in the morning, the sun's shining, that light spectrum hits your eyes, and that releases a fucking cascade of hormones and says, hey, it's time to get up. It's time to, evolutionary speaking, go and seek food, water, shelter. Then when the sun goes down, cool, you're in a safe space. Your body then goes into recuperation mode, or it should do, but that's not the world that we live in these days. Now we have fucking screens in front of our
TV
face.
on.
And that's the thing, man, like the blue light, it's it's kind of an ambient light. But when you have a screen or a fucking, a phone or a tablet or a computer or whatever in front of your face all day, then that's like concentrating that light. So I actually wear blue light blocking glasses. Whenever the sun goes down, I'll put my blue light blocking glasses on. And
you find that help? They do find that help?
100%, man. 100%. I can get to sleep a lot quicker, and my sleep quality is a lot better. So there's actually research that shows that for every 30 minutes of for every hour of blue light you have in front of your face before you go to bed, that's up to 30 minutes of deep sleep or REM sleep that's affected. I can't remember which one it is. I think it's the REM sleep. But.
Yeah, because I went through a process. I started looking at that, and like the paleo diets and all these, and people are trying to get back to nature. And I started putting it in the last couple of months in my routine. Was I would be trying to eat like last night. I was like, people don't like if you're out there 1,000 years ago,
Yeah.
you're not, or 2,000, whatever it is, you're not eating in the dark. You've already eaten, right?
It's time restricted eating, and that's exactly what I was talking about with circadian rhythm. You know, when the sun goes down, then your body starts changing your hormone profile and goes, hey, it's time for you to fucking chill out, relax, rest, recuperate, so that you can, you know, go and hunt for food again tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah. So I think 8 o'clock. 8:30. I turn all the lights off in the house. I try and keep most of the lights down as soon as it's dark, but I light candles everywhere. Only because my missus loves candles and puts them everywhere. I'm like,
Sure, she does, mate.
Yeah. I just love the vanilla bean ones there.
Yeah.
And light them up, and then that's half an hour before bed, and I'm
Yep.
just chilled out, trying to read a book, or I might watch the TV on me in the background. But
Yep.
I think it's reducing a lot of that stuff, and I've been getting to bed heaps better.
It's a classic example of what you were just talking about is when you go camping, and you know you hit 7:30 and everyone's tired. That's because the sun's gone down, and you don't have any of that screen
Stimulus.
time, and you're just like, fuck, what's going on? But it's sun's gone down. You've just had your barbecue or whatever, and
Time for
that's
bed.
that blue light's gone. All that, you know, sun's down. It's bedtime because
Your body's naturally telling you that. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah, that's it. And I think that's a good point. Is you know, it's not just about the blue light that you're concentrating in your face with screen time. It's also about fucking fluorescent lights and all that sort of shit in this like super bright space that we're in. You know, I actually hate walking into shopping centers, like super brightly lit shopping centers at night time. It's just
Because fluoro lights just like bang,
Yeah.
everything. Hey, so with knowing that, so these are some things that you've obviously, and this was part of the reason for Swiss 8 coming around is formalizing or having a system where you don't have to go through 30 years of life figuring this shit out for yourself,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
you've come along and you like you haven't been drinking coffee for 2 weeks, right? Or 7, because you're like, I'm not going to preach to somebody if I don't do it myself.
yeah, 100%.
And so how does some of the Swiss 8 principles, and then you coming on board as and being like, yeah, these are sick, or no, like has it helped you? And you know, like, did you go through a rough spot to get out to figure this shit out yourself, or you just sort of?
Look, when I got out of the army in 2012, I kind of rebelled a little bit, and I was like, well, I've fucking been regimented for the last 6 years of my life, and I'm not gonna fucking get up at a certain time, and I'm not gonna make my bed, and I'm not gonna shave, and I'm fucking not gonna move, not gonna do all this shit, right? But I kind of floated around for maybe 8 or 9 months and lost my direction, lost my purpose. Didn't really have any drive, man. Had nothing to work towards. I was literally just fucking studying my PT course and you know, playing PlayStation, going to the gym, and playing rugby.
Yeah.
Getting on the piss. It was you know, don't get me wrong, it was good times, but it got to a point where I was like, right, I need to pull my head in and, you know, start looking at where I want to go next and what I want to do. And you know, I enjoyed it whilst I was there. It was good to have that time off, but I also, you know, needed something to keep me moving forward.
Did you feel, was there a decline in anything? Like, did you feel a decline or like motivation, or for you it was all right?
Look, man, because I had something to go to. Here's the thing: like, I actually applied to join the Fireys whilst I was transitioning. I didn't get accepted for that, and I was a little bit bummed about that for a couple of weeks. And I was like, all right, well, fuck, I need to look at what else I'm going to do. So then I did my PT course, and you know, it was good because it actually gave me something to do. If I didn't have that course, then I would have just sat around doing fucking nothing, and I would have just probably started going downhill a little bit. But because I was, you know, I didn't isolate myself. I was based in Darwin, and once I got out, I stayed in Darwin. I lived in Darwin before I joined the army, so I still had my civvy mates around that I played rugby with. So that was a big part for me. But yeah, having that course to work towards, and I was playing footy, so that was pretty much what I was focused on. But after a while, I, you know, kind of went, fuck, I need to start working on what I'm going to do next. I was planning, I threw my eggs in that basket of getting in the Fireys, and it didn't happen. So, you know, once I kind of felt like I was slowing down and losing my motivation direction a little bit, then I, you know, just repurposed that, and I was like, right, why have I moved away from this shit that served me so well to be a fucking good soldier? You know, getting up at a certain time and being punctual and having that schedule. And I think that was a big thing for me. Once I started putting my schedule together again and prioritizing things that were important to me, then made a huge difference in my life, and you know, gave me that purpose and direction and motivation again. You know, so I think, and that's something that it has taken me this time to be able to figure it out and put it together and refine this process. And I've you know, and it constantly changes. It constantly changes, but depending on what's happening in my life, where I am and what's going on. I mean, I've been away for the last 5 weeks now from Thailand. I've been completely out of fucking whack with my schedule, but I'm still prioritizing some things that are important to me. So, for example, I'm on this course and we might get a 30-minute break here and there, and I'm still going knocking out little 10-minute mini workouts here and there a couple times a day, and I'm being pretty consistent with that because it's important to me. And I'm focusing on, you know, getting good quality sleep so that I can wake up feeling fairly refreshed the next day and crack on and
after it assimilate some of the information as well.
Yeah, exactly, man. So for me, the schedule's very important, and I really try and protect the first hour and the last hour of the day. So that last, I know how much. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed this, but fuck, as you start getting older, man, you start noticing how much like your poor sleep affects you. So for me, sleep's super fucking important. So I really try and prioritize that. And if anything's going to affect my sleep, then, you know, if my sleep's affected, that affects the rest of my day. That affects my mood. That affects how I interact with people. And I fucking work with people face to face all day. I'm coaching all day. So, you know, that's, if I'm in a shitty mood, then that's going to impact my ability to interact with my clients.
And they've backed that up, haven't they? Like if you don't sleep, there is a one of the glands, and it actually doesn't allow you to moderate your moods. Like you lose.
Yeah.
You haven't affected.
Yeah. And then you get dementia real young. And mate, sleep, out of all the 8 principles that we push, sleep should be number one. Most people just pay it off until they get, like Cove said, until they get old enough that it starts being noticeable and you get super snappy.
Yeah, it's too late then, man.
Yeah.
Fuck, we were all like, oh, sleep when you're dead, mate.
Yeah.
Everyone, we'd go out on piss on a Thursday night and rock up at parade at
7 in the morning.
Yeah, 7 o'clock and hit some PT and be fucked.
But
Battle through the rest of the day, and it was a badge of honour, mate.
Yeah. One of the, like that point that you brought up that you got out and all your eggs were in one basket. I think so many of the boys out there and girls can relate to that. And as soon as that the first plan falls over, most people will be like, all right, now I'm fucked, and they just don't acknowledge it, just fucking sit still and let it dwell to the point where they're proper cooked.
Yeah,
I think it's the perfect metaphor for like coming from someone who does movement for a living. Is that
got to keep moving, man.
Humans have to keep moving,
100%, bro.
Figuratively and fucking literally. Like if you stop moving physically, you get fat and fucking disease real quick.
Man, I always say you're either growing or dying.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so if you fucking if something doesn't work out and you're sitting still, you're probably going to be moving backwards. You're probably going to be dying, man. You got to fucking take that next step. It doesn't matter which direction it is. Just take a fucking step.
Yeah.
Figure out the direction as you go, but don't sit still.
And it's taken you well because people know you're the head strength conditioning coach at Tiger Muay Thai now, aren't you?
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. It gives boys some context.
Pretty fucking awesome gig, yeah.
Like, who's this fucking dude just randomly talking at me? Like, nah, the man knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, no, it's a good gig, mate. I enjoy living in Thailand. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, I mean, speaking about that, we like to do, so the guys, they've been saying that, they like the backstory as well for dudes, but it's not a super
Thorough,
you know, so if you want to take, if you're happy to talk about the commendation for gallantry stuff,
yeah,
boys would be super keen. It gives them some context that these are guys who've gone through shit. They're not broken veterans. They get out, they get stuck, they find a way to move forward, and there's some principles, and I think that's what we're trying to push in on, right?
Yeah, sweet. So I'll start. I actually put a post up this morning about fucking, being an abusive, part of an abusive family. My stepdad was. I don't know my father. My stepdad's been around since I was 3 years old or something like that. He was a fucking cunt, to be honest. Was abusive towards my mum especially, but me as well, and some of the other kids. So I actually ended up leaving home when I was 14. I was living in Queensland at the time, and I was just kind of getting caught up with the wrong people and stealing shit and doing drugs and just being a fucking pain in the ass, to be honest. Yeah, just being a scumbag, mate. So I realised that I was, going down that path, and it was something that I didn't want to be a part of, and I knew that if I wanted to, become the man that I wanted to be, then I need to get out of that situation, get out of that environment. So I actually left home when I was 14, moved to Darwin. I knew one person up there. He was a couple of years older than me. He was one of my mates that I used to skip school and go and smoke bongs with, go down the skate park and whatever. I moved up there and started working, and I was up there for a couple of years, just working as a labourer. I actually got my forklift license before I got my car license, which is a fucking random story, but anyway. started playing rugby and ended up being pretty good at it. Grew up with rugby league in Queensland, and then started playing rugby union in Darwin. And then I was actually working at the rugby as a caterer one day, selling hot dogs and shit. And went up to a dude and I was like, "Hey mate, what game is this? You know, can I have a run?" He goes, "Bring your boots down tomorrow." I was like, "I don't have any boots, man." He goes, "Oh sweet, come and have a run." He ended up being the Northern Territory under-16s coach, and about 6 months later I ended up representing the Northern Territory and went alright for the next couple of years and played around Australia in multiple competitions, and got selected in the first combined states team, which was Northern Territory, Western Australia, South Australia, Victoria, Tasmania. They selected the best 23 players from there, and we went to Sydney and played against New South Wales, Queensland, ACT. And I got approached there and got offered a scholarship in Sydney. So I went to Sydney when I was 17, had a couple of years down there, had a few injuries. I was a good player, but I was also a realist. I had some injuries, and I was like, maybe could make pro or semi-pro, but I'm gonna have to fucking bust my ass, and you know, how long will my career be, etc. And decided I was going to move back to Darwin and join the army. So one of our mutual mates, Ryan Reeder, I grew up with Reeder, good dude. We went back up to Darwin and joined the army pretty much together. I think I got in a couple weeks earlier, and went through that process. Went to Kapuka 2006, Iraq, East Timor, Afghanistan. Got out 2012. So yeah.
Yeah, and then deployed over, got to Afghan.
Went to Afghan 2010. So 6 IRL lads there. We did a handover takeover with them. Pretty much the first patrol that we went out on without them. So they took us on a couple of partner patrols, and then they fucking jumped on the chook and bailed out. And
So what did it go? It went us, six, and then you guys.
Yeah. They jumped on the chook and fucked off, and we stepped out on patrol, and we actually had a heap of intelligence that there was a heap of Pakistanis in the area. So we actually met face to face with them that morning, walking out of the mosque, and we shook their hands and fucking looked them in the eye, and that was it. We kept patrolling, and and then the engineers were conducting a search of a koala complex, and our sniper team were conducting a satellite patrol, just keeping eyes on, and trying to interdict people that were keeping eyes on them. And we tried to bail a couple of dudes up, but they were a couple hundred meters away by that stage, so by the time we got to them, they'd bailed out. But anyway, we got word over the radio that the lads had finished the search, and we were going to patrol out and find a position to break out the green zone. And we started doing that, and we got to a certain point where atmospherics just deteriorated, and there were dudes running out and grabbing their fucking goats and sending them inside and grabbing their kids and shit, and we're like, oh shit, this is not good. We're just about to bail out of that area and keep patrolling, and we saw this one dude walking along the footpad, and we just pulled into a little bit of cover there and watched him for a second, and then me and my mate looked at each other, me and Tamps looked at each other, right, let's get this dude. So we came out, rifle shouldered, fucking pointing at him, and as soon as he saw us, he kind of shit and like braced up and went to turn and run. I already had one in the chamber, but I just cocked it and just let him know that
you're not going anywhere, mate.
Yeah, I was like, next one's going to be the fucking finger on the trigger. But yeah, so once he realised that, he was probably about 100 metres away at that stage, and we just called him over, and he walked along the footpad, and I slung my rifle, had my X-spray kit, and walked over to the dude. He wouldn't come any further than a certain point. So I walked over to him. Tamps was covering me, and X-sprayed him, and started, trying to have a chat to him as best we could. And and then Seamus, our team leader, pretty much just went, "Oi, Pakistani, Talib," and this dude goes, "Oh," and turns around, like points, man. As soon as he turned and points, it just fucking lit up. There was just rounds just kicking up around us, and yeah, hit the deck, man, fucking returned fire, threw everything back into the pack as much as we could, and then I was facing the wrong direction, like the rounds coming from behind me, so there was a wall probably about 15 metres in front of us, a little small wall, so I got up and just sprinted over to that and jumped over and fucking turned around and started hooking in, and I was carrying the GLA, luckily, because, as a sniper team, we weren't all fitted out with sniper rifles because, we're in the green zone, it was just not practical, so luckily I was carrying the GLA and just started fucking lobbing 40 mils. I looked over, and my team leader Seamus was on his ass, firing single-handedly, ripping his tourniquet out of his pocket, trying to put it on. Myself and Tamps were just hooking in, and then Rob went over and put Seamus's tourniquet on, and then once the firing, the return fire died down, I ran over and dragged Seamus into cover, and Started patching him up until the medic got there. So yeah, bagged him up, and then had to put him on a helicopter, and didn't know what was going to happen after that. Next day we went out on patrol, and burst machine gun fire went right between my mate and I was just like, holy fuck, this is gonna be a long trip.
Day
then,
two.
yeah, exactly, man. So that was literally when I actually started thinking about what I could do to help me get to sleep, because as you can imagine, your heart rate's through the roof, and your adrenaline's spiking, cortisol's increasing, and it was a struggle to get to sleep. So that's when I actually started using the meditation mindfulness stuff as well. So that was the first incident, and then the second incident was when we actually got pinned down. We were basically sitting next to an IED in Overwatch position, and it started kicking off, and we were basically pinned down in position, and we were returning fire, and my boy Tamps got hit in the shoulder, and I just dragged him back down into cover and started lobbing a couple of again, I had the GLA, so I started lobbing some 40 mil, and then patched him up and dragged him out of there and put him on chopper as well. So yeah, it was a pretty fucking heavy trip, mate.
So no one wanted to be next to you.
Well, we had a 4-man sniper team, and 2 of the boys got shot, mate.
Yeah.
So you walk past a mosque, see Pakistanis coming out, shake hands, you go get your tools, we'll go and sit on the hill, and we'll come back and shoot at each other for a bit.
There's nothing we could do, mate. There's nothing we could do. They didn't have any. They know the game, man. They fucking know the game. Yeah. Just looking the dudes in the eyes, going, I know why you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't fucking do anything about it,
That's the part, mate. When it's obviously there's rules of engagement for a reason.
Yeah.
Not too far away. You can't just go around killing people, but you fucking know.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, we knew they were there. We fucking knew it was going to be on. It was just a matter of time, mate.
Yeah.
We just happened to be at the front of the mosque as they walked out. Looked them in
the
the eyes, shook their
That's not where I parked my car.
Rightio, fellas, it's on later.
Yeah.
But usually, I think that's. I wanted to drop it into. I don't want to be like a constant bloody tirade, but thanks for just sharing it with the dudes, man, so that they can know, like, oh, there's a reason, and these guys use these tools, and they're saying, like, nothing it's on the app, and nothing that you say or would recommend to people, nothing anyone says, we don't either do it ourselves, see like validity in it, or the science behind it.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Well, fuck the things that we're passing on. I mean, you might want to talk about, how you started Swiss 8, man. Has the audience heard that?
Oh, I think we've talked about it a bit. I mean, in a nutshell, real quick, it was just from my personal stuff from getting out of the military. I had no dramas with anything that happened overseas. For my trip, it was fucking well. It was busy for some of the boys, not as busy for us. I was over there with mortars, and we only dropped bombs once, and it was most likely on nothing, because it was just to stop fucking some of the patrols getting shot at. But I had no dramas. Like everyone talks about fucking PTSD being the big buzzword at the moment, but I don't know, that's a story for another day. But I transitioned out of the military and was just fucking cut off from the boys, and rode the roller coaster for a few years of just being up and down and not really understanding why. And just started, I think, a lot in similarity to what you've done, you just get obsessed with personal research. And I just started reading books, listening to podcasts, finding what was fucking addressing the shit that I was going through, or that I was experiencing, and going, a lot of this shit's just separation, anxiety, and fucking isolation causing depression, because I'm not with the boys that I trust.
You're not with your tribe.
Exactly, not with the tribe. And then started to put together, like, just document what was working for me, and then running the boys later on, a few years later, and just going, like, when you get fucking depressed or anxious, like, what are you experiencing? And after what most the boys no one talks about it to start with, but eventually you're like, hey, when I'm fucking training all the time and when I'm eating properly, I'm good. And then I just smash piss for 4 weeks straight, and now I'm depressed as fuck. And you're like, well, there's probably some correlation there.
Yeah.
And so just document, dot point this stuff down, and then just look into the research, go what's actually been studied to prove it. And the big ones were fitness, mindfulness or meditation, yoga, sleep and nutrition. And that's what we just started to roll into a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll let you talk about it, but that's even as a PT, there's a lot of PTs out there that'll go, or fitness coaches that'll go, I'm going to fucking do fitness, and that's about as far as their scope goes. But you've got a very holistic practice. Like me and the boys came over for a couple of weeks at the start of the year, something we're going to Thailand, something we're going to start doing every year for at least a month, because it's like a hard reset. But the main reason was to come and catch up with you. But being there, it's like it's good to have a coach that fucking understands holistic practice. So, like, what I suppose there'll be a question in there somewhere. What what's your standard fucking model, or how broad is your left and right of arc when you're looking at programming for your clients in coaching?
It's pretty broad, man, and that's because I have immersed myself in the educational side of things. And going back to, I really fucking believe that stress management is a massive part of it. So something I do every morning is, I mean, you look at the 9 out of 10 causes of all-cause mortality are stress-related. The only thing that's not stress-related is car accidents. But you could probably fucking argue that would be a part of it as well. That would fall under the banner. So I'm all about stress management, man, and that's where sleep is a priority for me. So my coaching philosophy is, if I'm not affecting my clients for the other 23 hours of the day, I'm not doing my job. Anyone can fucking write 10 exercises on the board, 10 sets, 10 reps, get after it, set a fucking timer and smash themselves into the ground. But that's probably being detrimental for the most part for most people. At the end of the day, people don't know how to manage their stress. So let's go back to talking about the sympathetic, parasympathetic. I've literally had clients where I'll, draw a massive T on the board, and on the left side I'll write sympathetic, on the right side I'll write parasympathetic. I'm like, all right, what are the things that bring you stress? This. My job. All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, how is that? That's a 3. All right, cool. What about financial situation? What about relationships? What about mortgage? What about fucking training? What about self-esteem, confidence, blah 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 blah, and list off all these things. And it might be like this low-level stress for all of them. It might be like a 2 or a 3 or a 1 here and there, but that all fucking adds up. That stress, if it's not dealt with, becomes chronic stress. So you have someone who, again, you're driving along 100 kilometers an hour, someone pulls out in front of you, all right, boom, you go straight to a 10, you shit yourself, massive response, right? But 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, however long it takes for you to pull yourself back into a parasympathetic state, you're okay, right? Because like your hormone profile is completely changed. But if you've got someone who has that low level stress that's just not dealt with day after day after
sitting
day
redlining,
after
just like,
yeah, that just it's a stress bucket, man. Your bucket can only take so much stress before it needs to fucking empty. And how I typically explain this, so I'll give a little bit of perspective here for people listening at home. I'm the head strength and conditioning coach at Tiger Muay Thai in Phuket, Thailand, and it's a destination gym. People come over to, we've got a lot of fighters that I work with and, other coaches work with that come and, fight in high level organizations like UFC, ONE, Bellator, blah, 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 blah. But then we also have a fitness department, which I'm the head of, which runs, we've got 50, 60 classes a week. And people come over for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever, and they just it's expensive, so they just want to smash themselves, and they're hitting 2, 3, 4, 5 classes, 6 classes a day sometimes, and they're literally going from their home environment where they're stressed out, they're worrying about, their relationships and finances and blah, 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 and they come to Tiger and they just train themselves into the ground because exercise is good for them, right? But what they're not understanding is that they're taking themselves out of one stressful environment and they're placing themselves in another stressful environment. The stress is different, right? Exercise is fucking good until it's not good. Just like drinking water is fucking good for you until you drink too much, and then it's not good for you, right? It's like dose dependent. Yeah. So the way I explain this is, if I've got a headache, everyone knows I take 2 Pantene Forts. That's going to get rid of it, right? Everyone fucking knows taking 10 is probably not going to be ideal. Probably going to make me feel like shit, but that's what people think about with exercise. So when people come to Tiger, I'm like, hey guys, if you're here for the next week, sweet, get after it. Enjoy yourself. Get some training in, right? But if you're here for the next month, or if you're here for 2 months, just, ease into it. Progressive overload. You don't want to go from sitting on the couch to running a marathon, because it's going to fuck you up. Your body's not used to that stress, right? You got to step it up. Just like a child, a baby doesn't just fucking start walking. They need to learn how to hold their head up first. Then they need to know how to learn how to crawl and stabilize, and then, the progressions go on. So if people are around at Tiger for 2 months, for example, I always say, hey guys, just take it easy, go through progressive overload. Start with maybe, if you're training 5 days a week back home, maybe do 7 days a week or 8 days a week for the first week, and then build it up. But what I see is people roll in, and I get people, once I explain this, I get people come up to me all the time, and they're like, oh, you just literally nailed my time here. because they're there for say 2 months and they start doing 4 classes a day. I'm like, sweet, this is what's going to happen. You start doing 4 classes a day, going from doing 1 class a day or 1 session a day, then after the first week, your body's going to be fucking sore, man. You know, your joints are going to be aching, your muscles are going to be aching, you're not going to be moving very well, your mobility's going to be decreased. The second week, you're going to start waking up and you're going to have like a little scratchy throat and a runny nose and your joints are going to be hurting. The third week, all of those things are happening, but then you also need to sleep between training sessions, or you need extra pre-workout or coffee or whatever to get through the day. And then by the fourth week, you know, you got gastro or whatever. Your immune system's literally shutting down because your stress is, your body's under so much stress, man. It's that stress bucket's filled up so much that your body goes, fuck, we need to pull you back into a parasympathetic state. What's going to get you to sit in bed for the next couple of days so you can actually rest and recover? Let's give you gastro. Let's give you food poisoning. Let's fucking
and then
let's
you
have
go
it
back
blown
to your
out
job
both
and
ends.
you stress the bills and your missus.
Don't shit yourself for 2 weeks. You go back to work. But that was the bit that I appreciated the most. We got there and we were with one of the boys who we can leave his name out of it. Just got back from the Middle East, and I'd just been he'd been there for a bunch of months. I'd just been working around the clock for a few months getting this fucking stomp stuff ready, and we got over there and we're like, let's fucking go hard. We're only here for 2 weeks. Let's fucking hit every session we can. And you're like, nah, 2 a day max, boys. And then in the gaps, get fucking massages, because you're in that state of like fucking constant sympathetic state of stress for fucking months leading up to it. Come over and you want to ramp it even harder, you're going to cook yourself.
Well, that's exactly why I had a chat to you boys. I'm like, what have you been doing? You're like, oh man, I've been run off my feet with work and blah blah blah. And obviously fucking old mate came back from overseas, and I was like, right, these guys don't need to fucking get here and hammer themselves, man. Like, yeah, get some training in because it's fucking good for you, but focus on the other things, the recovery mechanisms, those things that pull you back into a parasympathetic state. And that's where I was going before when I was making that tea, sympathetic on one side, parasympathetic on the other side. You ask people like, what are the things that stress you out, and then you flip the switch and you go, what are the things that actually fucking chill you out? And they're like, like, what chills you out, man?
I didn't do it enough over there. Going for floats is the best, and saunas.
Yeah.
Like I could sit in the sauna. I do 3 rounds of like 100 degrees odd, 5 to 10 minutes. Ice bath there when you get out if you can. But I walk out of there and I'm chilled as fuck for hours afterwards.
But let me ask you, how often do you do that?
Over here, fuck all.
Yeah. How often do you do it a week or a month even?
I mean, it's location dependent, but when I'm living it in Sydney, because I had access to a gym with a sauna, I was doing it every day, and that's when I know it's fucking good to go.
Yep.
But it's easy as soon as I step away from that gym to go, oh, it's not there anymore. Don't go and search for another one. Just fucking it slowly fades away, and then
exactly.
months later, I'm in a habit of not doing it.
Yep. Yeah, and it becomes a habit, man. That's that
Exactly.
progressive overload, and then whatever you practice becomes permanent.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the thing, man. Like when you're doing it, you might not necessarily feel the difference when you do it, or you might feel the acute difference. But then when you stop doing it, that's when you notice a big difference. Like, fuck, I haven't been feeling as sharp as I normally am. And that's the same thing with coffee, going back to that. Like, I haven't had any caffeine since I've been on this course. And the reason why is because, you know, I got up to 3 to 4 coffees a day. For the last 6 months, I've been going, all right, it's time for me to reduce my caffeine consumption. Why? Because I fucking know that I can't function until I have my first coffee in the morning. When that happens, I know that that's become a problem.
Yeah.
So how do I get out of that, right? I need to, slowly start weaning myself off. I didn't actually do that. I was just like, fuck it. I'm just
cold turkey.
Just gonna go cold turkey and just muscle this one out. Probably not the smartest idea to do on a course when I'm fucking in a learning environment. The first couple of days, I was like, oh god damn.
And because you've gone vegan, you've gone the veggie diet here as well.
Yeah. Which I wouldn't typically recommend to people if they're going to change something.
So one thing at a time.
One thing at a time, so you can actually measure the effects. But I've done both before, and I periodically throw in like vegan times or vegetarian times in my diet, and going caffeine free and things like that as well. So I want to experience what that is, because these are the things that I recommend to my clients as well. And I don't want to fucking recommend shit that I haven't tried, or at least know the research behind, and have some sort of understanding of why it's going to be beneficial. So I knew the caffeine consumption had become a problem, because I got up to a point where I needed like 2 coffees just to be feeling normal.
Yeah, so it's like smokers smoke to feel like non-smokers, right? So a non-smoker sits there and he's like, I don't need to go and have a dab. Or a smoker needs to feel normal.
Yeah.
He's like, I need to go and have a cigarette, right?
Yeah.
And if the same thing with coffees, We'll talk about it. The same thing with coffees. Same thing with coffees is if you're getting up in the morning like I'm not participating in life till I've had a coffee. You're like, just to be normal, you got to.
It's become a problem, man.
And I abuse coffee like you wouldn't believe.
Well, that's the thing, dude. Your body's become immune to it, so you need more and more and more and more to get the same response. So rather than me going, all right, I'm at 3 or 4 coffees a day now. Now I'm going to bump up to 4 or 5 to get the effects from it. Right? Why don't I just fucking man up and cut back on the caffeine for a couple of weeks?
Yummy.
But it is delicious.
But
here's the thing. But now I'm going to fucking not. The first couple of days have been difficult, and even now I still don't feel as sharp as I normally do. But in 2 weeks' time, once this course finishes and I have that fucking first drink of sweet elixir, I'm gonna get those benefits. I'm gonna be fucking probably running out on the footy field, I'm gonna be smashing people left, right, and centre.
Have a brew before the game on Sunday.
But I don't even know what I was gonna say then. Coffee. What were we saying?
Delicious.
So there's one thing I want to bring up is that if you're trying to teach people who aren't highly disciplined like how to form a habit, it is like progressive overload. It's like do it slowly,
100%,
adapt into it.
And one thing at a time.
The big but for that is there is no research around this, I don't think. But you have to take into account the fucking AJ mindset too. Like a lot of the boys are, I'm fucking all in or I'm all out.
Yep.
I know that training wise, 100%, but habit building and stuff, or if you're going to go no coffee, people would look at it and go, well, that's kind of going against your rules, going cold turkey. But there's also a fucking AJ mentality that goes, no, I'm fucking training discipline today.
Yeah.
I'm going cold turkey for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that works too.
And you almost get an enjoyment out of like that mental challenge in your head of going, no, I'm not going to do it.
100%.
Yeah.
Every time I see you boys with coffee, I'm like, oh, fuck, I want one of them.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do that. I've said that. And here's the thing, man. It's accountability. Because I actually put a post up on my fucking Instagram stories. And I was like, hey, I'm on this course. I'm going veggie free. And I decided, fuck it, I'm going to go coffee free. Because I've been thinking about it for a while. And like, there's no time's better. There's no best time, but some times are better than others. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to immerse myself. And it's that accountability. I put it out to other people. I told you guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and to me, my word is my fucking promise, man. Like,
There
I
is
say I'm doing something.
There
I'm
is
doing
no
the best
better
I can
accountability technique to an AJ than being made to look like a weak cunt. You tell all the boys I'm doing it, you fucking got to do it now.
Yeah, 100%, man.
Yeah, that's why we're walking around Australia. So that's going to be.
We had to go public with it, mate. Otherwise, it wouldn't have got done.
Yep.
Exactly, and that's exactly what I just said, man. It's about making it public. Like if you're holding shit on your own, there's no power in that because like it's easy to cheat yourself.
Yeah.
But if you voice that, man, you tell other people, then if you don't follow through, then people think, well, I can't trust that dude.
Yeah.
He talks shit. I can't fucking trust his word. Whereas if I make it public to other people, I mean, it's not the probably the best approach for some people. That approach is probably going to be more like I'm going to wean myself off, and again, it comes back down to progressive overload. So if you want to make a change in your life, you need to implement small things consistently, and until you can do something consistently, then there's no point adding anything else. And this is where a lot of people go wrong when they're trying to change shit, is they throw the fucking everything and the kitchen sink at it, and while motivation's high, that's awesome, they're doing a fucking good job,
but the discipline isn't there with the motivation.
Exactly, they haven't built here's the thing, man. Goals are just a fucking dream. It's an end point, right? What gets you there? You need to set a goal, and then you go, right, that's where I want to get to. What are the steps that I need to take to get to that position, to get to that point? Once you realize those steps to get to that goal, then you go, right, I need to build some structure around this, and I need to prioritize what's going to be, the biggest fucking game changers, and start putting them into my schedule. So I think the Swiss 8 thing's fucking awesome. We talked about, what were the top 4 that you were talking about? Sleep, nutrition.
Fitness, nutrition, mindfulness, and sleep.
Yeah. So those are I actually wrote down the things that were important to me. And that's when I realized that sleep was the most. I wrote down, sleep, nutrition, hydration, blah, 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 blah. Like all these things. I probably had like 10 to 12 things there. And I went through these things, and I actually I numbered them, and I was like 1, 2, and 1 was sleep. That was the most important thing for me, because I knew that if I could read all these other things, and study was one of those things, and coaching and being the best person I could be, blah, 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 blah. I knew that if I fucking didn't get enough sleep or good quality sleep, then those other things weren't going to get checked off. So that's why I was like, right, that's my most important thing. What can I do to protect that? You know, I didn't just go and buy a set of blue blocking glasses and become a fucking hippie and start chanting shit before I went to bed or when I woke up. You know, I went, right, what can I do here? I already had like a fairly solid morning routine, but I didn't have a solid evening routine. So then I started, you know, all right, cool. As soon as it's 9 o'clock, I want to be in bed. I want to be asleep by about 10:30. 9 o'clock, my phone goes down. And that was it. That was what I started with. I would make sure I did all my social media shit, all my fucking screen time before 9 o'clock. And then at 9 o'clock, that was it. My phone went down, you know, and then I just had a notepad old school notepad and pen sitting by my bed, and I'll just read. I'd read something that I was interested in, you know, whether it was self-development or, you know, personal growth or just a fucking random novel, whatever, you know, something that I was interested in depending on where I was at and what sort of mood I was in. But then as thoughts would come into my brain, I would just grab my notepad and pen and just start writing shit down. And I'd spend 15 minutes and just do a brain dump and just get rid of all that shit. Because what do most people do when they go to bed?
Start thinking about shit.
They start thinking about shit. I've got to get up tomorrow. I've got to fucking pay this bill. I've got to call this dude about a dog, and I've got to blah 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 blah. I've got to email this and etc. etc. So those thoughts go through your head. 30 minutes later, you're back at the start. You're on fucking loop, man. You're on repeat. And your brain is like literally telling you these things that you need to do, going on about random shit, and then it reminds you so that you don't forget. So you do a brain dump, man. You write everything down, and then the next morning, that's my evening routine, part of my evening routine, and then I'll go back to reading. And as shit comes up, I just start jotting things down, and I write everything down. Sometimes it's absolute fucking rubbish, but then, you know, I might write 15 things down, but there might be the next morning when I get up, I'll go through my morning routine, go and swim. I'll do my sauna and my stretch, and then I'll come back in my place and make a coffee, and then I'll sit down, I literally write my schedule out. All my appointments that I have for the day, you know, they're my priorities, my work, and then I start putting in my study because that's important to me, and then I start putting in my training because that's important to me, and then I start putting in recovery because that's important to me, and all these mechanisms that, you know, are important to me. You know, so when I'm writing my schedule out, then I'll just take my journal and I look at the 15 things I've written down. I'm like, that's shit. Don't need to worry about that. Oh, fuck. I need to do that. Where can I slot that into my day? You know, so I might only take 2 or 3 things out of that journal and start putting them in my schedule. I'm like, I need to get my fucking scooter service today.
My scooter.
That's a big one, but getting
scooters, yeah, it's really important.
Scooters.
Yeah, got a motorbike too, mate.
A lot of people will go, all right, I've got to get X, Y, Z done. I've had this idea, I've got to get it done. They'll put it down on paper, and then that ticks it off in their brain to go, that's been recorded, and then you fucking don't look at it for weeks.
Yeah.
So the big part, if you actually want to, otherwise it's just like a dream, like a goal. If you put shit on paper and you're like, oh, that's got to get done, it's an idea I've had, you've got to set time the next day to follow up and actually fucking schedule it.
Or if you can't set it for the next day, you got to schedule it in the week somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, that you prioritize what's most important to you, and then go,
Absolutely.
right, this is, and that's, you know, a productivity tip as well is to, you know, have a hierarchy of things. Like, right, these are the important things that I need to get done, but I understand that my energy levels at this time of the day aren't going to be fucking great. So that's when I'm going to do the more monotonous bullshit where I might be answering emails and shit like that when my energy levels aren't really there. Once my energy levels have bumped up after I've trained, for example, you know, and fucking had my pre-workout and hit a training session and I'm feeling good and I'm fucking sharp, then I might have a protein shake and go, right, now I'm going to get after these things that are really important that are going to require the most attention.
Yeah, so I set my calendar up. I do not do anything that requires fucking cognitive energy after lunchtime.
Yeah.
And it's not just because I'm eating and crashing. It's because, like, I am a morning person. I'm good to go to do shit that requires energy and mental strength in the morning.
How are you without coffee, mate?
Hey, talk about that on the camera, bro. No, I drink coffee every day. I probably should have a reset week or two at some stage, but I'm not having one anytime soon. Maybe after the stomp. But no, like in the morning, I'm good to go. If I've got to do like high level tasks, that's when you do them. After lunch is when I'll do stuff like making follow up phone calls and the shit that you don't really need to think. It's all primal and autopilot.
But that's good awareness from you as well. Like, how many people have that awareness, man? Yeah. And it's just about, you know, bringing your awareness to when you do have energy. I mean, fuck, man, we're terrible at listening to our bodies these days.
Yeah.
You know, how often do you wake up in the morning and, you know, your fucking joints are sore and your muscles are sore and you still go and train hard anyway, and, you know, that's your body talking to you, man. You know, maybe you've stuck in this fucking heavy strength training phase for too long and your joints are starting to talk to you, and, you know, the check engine light's coming on and, you know, you fucking your body's like, hey man, you're probably pushing a little bit hard right now, and maybe your stress levels are a little bit higher. That chronic stress is starting to build up, and now you're throwing more stress on that. Exactly, it's just inflammation, man. It's your body saying, hey, and that's the thing, inflammation's good. You know, your body requires inflammation to then recover and adapt above and beyond. But when it's, you know, it's inflammation and stress are fucking directly related. You know, they work together. They go hand in hand. So it's the same thing with nutrition. You know, how often do you eat, like, for example, when I first start working with clients, like, you know, going back to the holistic thing, I'll talk to people about their sleep. I'll talk to people about their nutrition. I ask them if they ever have any bloating or indigestion or energy level crashes throughout the day, etc., etc. And then they go, yeah, actually, you know, most days at 2:00, I feel like, you know, my energy crashes and I'm craving chocolate and blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. Let's look at the last thing you ate for lunch. What do you normally eat for lunch? Oh, I normally eat this, that. Well, there's maybe something in there. Maybe it's grains or fucking gluten or something that's causing this inflammatory response. Maybe it's spiking your blood sugar levels and then it's crashing, and then your body's like craving fucking sugars to bump up your blood sugar levels, etc. You know, that's literally your body talking to you and telling you something. And this is where coffee, literally going back to coffee, like masks those signals. You know, you're sore, you're tired, you know, you don't feel like going to the gym today, but because you're a fucking soldier, you're going to go and get after it anyway because you don't want to be a weak cunt. So you fucking take your pre-workout and get the tingles and roll into the gym and put on some fucking Metallica and get after it.
Yeah, it's like
it's probably not the best approach at that time. Your body's, you're just masking those signals.
It's autopilot, isn't it? Your brain's got a program on and it doesn't know why it's using the program, but it just knows that's the program I'm running on.
It's the default, man. Yeah. Like, it's just what you've conditioned yourself to do. So sometimes it's worth taking a step back and just going, right, I need to fucking reassess and, you know, start
introspection, man. Introspection.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think that's something that, you know, I'm not sure. What have you guys gotten out of this yoga course regarding that?
The meditation stuff and the looking in, and I mean, I was always I'm fairly introverted and then extrovert as a cover up for it, but but I like the meditation stuff and the calming stuff. Some of the stuff is different. I know they're trying to teach us a broad range of stuff, but I think having that time just to chill out as well and not be stimulated by stuff is kind of cool. Some things can pop up and you're like, oh, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's given me some space in the mind and really cemented it for me. It's just finding time in your day and generating that routine that's going to be so important for me moving forward to where am I going to put this in. And probably it's going to be when we start doing the yin stuff and I added 30 minutes of meditation before going to the gym
I think that's a really good point as well, and that goes back to that progressive overload. If you do want to, you know, if people listening at home want to add that mindfulness meditation in, you know, it's something Tristan said to me years ago, you know, when I told him that story about everything that happened in Afghanistan. I couldn't fucking sleep and blah blah blah. I was like, I need to get my head right. I need to get to sleep, otherwise I'm not going to be able to function, I'm not going to be able to perform, and I'm going to be a liability, and I'm going to make a mistake, and I'm either going to fucking lose my legs or my life, or the bloke behind me is going to, you know. So I told Tristan that story, and I told him about how I was using my breath and just counting my breaths to get to sleep, and he was like, dude, you've been meditating, fucking using mindfulness for years, you just didn't know it. You don't have to sit on a fucking yoga mat with your legs crossed in an on position, fucking
with Lululemon pants on,
om shanti shanti. You know, you just go and fucking sit on the beach, mate. Go and sit on the beach, listen to the waves roll in, watch the sunrise for 10 minutes. You know, you don't even have to count your breaths, mate. And that meditation can be whatever you want it to be. And that, like I said earlier, you know, that swimming that I do first thing in the morning is that kind of meditation for me. Like, I can't focus on anything else, because if I do, I just fucking
drown.
Yeah, I pretty much drown. So
it's like the
I have
Zen
to focus on it, man.
Doing mindful menial tasks that are repetitive, like the Zen gardens and all that.
But you know, that's this. Like I said, the swimming's not. I'm not fucking hammering myself. I'm not swimming as fast as I can. I'm literally just focused on like getting my technique right and you know, getting my breath right. And I literally just swim 6 to 10 laps. And that's it. And that's a fucking 15-meter pool.
Yeah, I swim like a set of car keys.
I'll swim one lap and then I'll walk one lap, and it literally takes me 10 minutes, man. So for people listening at home, you don't have to go into a fucking yoga class and sit there for an hour with your own thoughts, because, you know, for some people that's going to be too much. You know, how many people actually can be on their own and sit with their own thoughts and let it simmer? I fucking enjoy my alone time, you know, but it's taken me a long time to build up to that.
Yeah.
So people listening, if they do want to implement some of this mindfulness stuff, it's about adding it into your day and starting with 10 breaths. Just start fucking 10 breaths in the morning. That's it. When you get up, do that every day.
Make a habit out of it.
Yeah, do that every day, man. 10 breaths. And that 10 breaths might literally take you 2 minutes. You know, breathe in as deep as you can and then fucking exhale as long as you can. Do that 10 times. That's it. 2 to 3 minutes. If you can do that every day for the first month, then you might go 20 breaths.
You see,
Or you might do 10 breaths in the morning, 10 breaths before bed. That's it. That's progressive overload. You know, build it up. So I've gotten to a point now where I do take 50 breaths in my sauna every morning. That takes me, you know, 10, 12, sometimes up to 15 minutes, depending on, but that gives me a good gauge of where my nervous system is. You know, if I'm fucking rushing through those 50 breaths and it takes me 10 minutes, then I probably know that I'm probably a little bit jacked up and I've been training too hard and my stress levels are a little bit high and I need to maybe back it off a little bit and focus more on recovery. So another part of my morning routine is I'll actually take my blood pressure. I've got a blood pressure cuff and a heart rate monitor, and I'll check my heart rate variability.
Do you get into the biometrics, do you?
Oh, I love it, mate.
Yeah.
It's data, bro. If I've got data, if you know how to read that data, that then gives you information. That information then gives you knowledge. Right, this is what's happening, this is what it means, and then this is where the wisdom comes in. This is what I do. Right, so I normally wear a Fitbit. It's charging at the moment, but I'll normally wear a Fitbit, and that just gives me my data. Like I'm using it for my waking heart rate. I'm using it for my steps throughout the day. So my waking heart rate tells me, it gives me an indication of, you know, how much stress my heart's under. So think about it like this is really fucking interesting, man. When I got my tattoo done, I went back or came back to Australia in August, got my tattoo done over 6 days, and it was roughly 34 to 36 hours in the chair over 6 days.
I think you're the only guy that ever comes to Australia
To get a tattoo from Thailand.
Yeah. Well, there's a story. There's a story behind that. It's like one of my mates that I was actually in Afghanistan with became a tattoo artist, and he did like you guys saw my tattoo.
Yeah.
He did the military themed stuff, so it meant a lot to me as well. So definitely worth it. But anyway, when I was getting my tattoo done, I didn't bring my heart rate monitor or my blood pressure cuff or anything. Just brought my fucking Fitbit, man, and it was interesting looking back at the data. I didn't really notice it at the time, but whilst I was back home, I was like, right, I understand stress. I'm not going to do any training. My body's already going to be under stress from this foreign fucking gun stabbing ink into me, right? So my resting heart rate was roughly 52 beats per minute when I was in Thailand, right? Flew over, had a couple of days in the chair, Thursday, Friday, had Saturday, Sunday off, then Monday, Tuesday in the chair, Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday in the chair. So I did have some breaks. I was in the chair for 6 days over roughly 10 days. And looking back in hindsight, I was seeing my heart rate. It was probably like the fourth day. Then my resting heart rate was 54 beats per minute. And then it went up to 56 and then 59. And then it went up to like 64 beats per minute. And that was once I got my tattoo finished and then I flew back to Thailand. It probably took another week for my heart rate to come back down to 52. You know, so it was interesting looking at that stuff to see how much stress my body was under. So think about it like this. If your resting heart rate's 52 beats per minute and then a week later it's up at 64 beats per minute, there's 12 fucking beats per minute that your heart is having to work harder. You add that up over an hour, you add that up over the fucking day, man. That's massive. You know, so going back to my heart rate monitor, I'll check my heart rate variability, which is a measure of my autonomic nervous system. So this is basically going to tell me how much body my stress is under. So high variability is good. That means that your body's ability to deal with stress is high. You're resilient. So you can train harder. You can get after it. You can fucking push it a little bit more. But when your heart rate variability number is low, your body's ability to deal with stress and its resilience is going to be compromised. So that's when it's going to be time to like back it off a little bit and focus on recovery mechanisms and, you know, nutrition and hydration and quality sleep and things like that. So, you know, I'll work in phases, man. People want to, like you said, they're all or nothing, but there's going to be times when I'm going to be pushing. There's going to be times when I'm pulling back. I actually put a YouTube video up a couple of days ago about, you know, mindset matching expectations to commitment levels. You know, a lot of people are constantly trying to make gains. My philosophy is I'm in a maintain mentality for 6 to 8 months of the year, where, you know, I'm at a point where I'm happy with, you know, where I'm at, what my body can do, what it looks like, how it performs, etc. So, you know, I'm still going to prioritize my sleep and my training and nutrition for the most part, but I'm not being super restrictive. I want to go out on the weekend and fucking get on the piss or, you know, whatever, then I can do that. I'm not being super restrictive. But then there's going to be times when now, for example, I'm, you know, 5 weeks into a 6-week trip, my training's taken a hit. I'm not focused on gains. I'm focusing on minimizing damage. you know. So if I want to get on the piss and I want to, you know, have fun with the boys and want to go and play footy, have some late nights, etc., it doesn't really matter. But I know that, you know, I'm trying to minimize the damage. That means if I'm going out for dinner, I'm going out with the boys, then, you know, I'm not going to have the entree as well as the main meal as well as the dessert and then a fucking dozen beers afterwards. I'm going to go, right, I'm going to have a main meal. I'm probably going to eat salad for fucking most of the day, have a little bit of protein, and I'm going to save some calories and some carbs for later on where I can actually get on the piss.
Yeah, definitely follow that. Skip dinner and have 12 beers.
Yeah,
24.
Yeah, but it's you know, it comes back down to that planning and that preparation, man, thinking ahead. And, you know, if I'm trying to minimize the damage. Again, I'm not all or nothing. I'm having a good time, but I'm not fucking just going, right, I'm completely off the wagon, so fuck everything. I'm just going to fucking dive in deep, you know. And then there's going to be, and I might sit in that phase for, you know, 1 or 2 months of the year, and I'm okay with that, knowing that my body's going to bounce back really quickly. As soon as I get back into a routine, man, that muscle memory is going to come back, and I'm going to fucking go straight back into making gains. And then, you know, 2 to 3 months of the year, I'm focusing on making gains. If I've got a rugby tournament coming up, for example, then I'm going to dial everything in. I'm going to, you know, really focus on sleep, recovery mechanisms, ramp up my training. But in conjunction with that, then I'm going to pull back on the booze and, you know, fucking late nights and all that other shit that, you know, has an impact on ability to recover.
Yeah, 100%. But talking about that central nervous system stuff, like the boys training for selection and that, like dudes were doing like 3.2k webbing runs. They reckon it takes like a week and a half, like for your central to a max effort 3.2 or doing 20 to 20 clickers and stuff like that. The damage for your central nervous system to properly recover from the stuff you do to it. Yeah. Remember, you go to the battalion, you're doing a 20 clicker every Friday. Like, come on, guys, we're doing another 15 clicker. Like, your body actually hasn't recovered because that's humping with weights. A lot of damage on your body, right?
Yeah. And
like, no, we're doing it every Friday.
But
like,
dude, that's a good point about the selection process. I've had heaps of people. I've got, you know, I'm sure you boys have had the same thing. Like, I've had mates that would fucking smash themselves. They'd go through the 13-week selection. Was it the program? They'd run that twice, mate, and then they wouldn't have a deload before they go into it. I'm like, you're hammering yourself to prepare yourself to hammer yourself. It's like you're testing yourself all the time. Just fucking train. You know, if you're gonna do the 13-weeker, like, it's there for a reason. Then maybe once a month, then test yourself. Train the majority of the time, then test yourself. Go fucking, you know, 48 hours without sleep or food and still continue training. But then back it off a little bit. There's going to be times when you push, and there's going to be times when you need to pull back to be able to perform. If you just push, you're just fucking hammering yourself, mate, and your body's going to swing back the other way. That inflammation starts coming up. How many people?
Yeah, I did. Selection 1 year, wasn't successful. Come back and I was like, I'm just going to train harder.
Yeah.
And I fucking ran my ass into the ground, and all that happened was my times just went like that.
Just plummeted.
And I'm out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, there's something to be said about, you know, building the mental capacity, and there's something to be said about building the physical capacity, man. I mean, those things go hand in hand, but you don't necessarily need to train both at the same time. You know, I'm not fucking hammering myself every single time I go into the gym these days, whereas I used to do that, you know, 5-6 years ago. But I fucking learnt very quickly that if I'm going to be doing that, then my body's going to rebel.
Yeah, 100%.
It's going to make me sick. I'm going to get fucking run down. I'm not going to be able to sleep. You know, it's going to affect my hormones. Going to affect my relationships. You know, so yeah. Took me a little bit of time to figure that out, but that's why I coach the way that I do now. Is because I fucking figured this shit out myself, and, you know, I've spoken to a lot of dudes and got a lot of anecdotal evidence as well as scientific evidence to support that. So
it's life experience, man. It's cut through and life experience, and that's what this group and having you on and being able to talk to the dudes with your experience, mate, and that it's priceless, eh?
I think this this podcast has been really good in conjunction with the app as well. I think a lot of the information that's been said on today's podcast has related really well to what's on the app and what's available on the Swiss Aid app. So it's for everyone that's listening.
For anyone who doesn't know, Cobes has put a program on there too, which is probably the fucking best program on there. It's like all the programs we're putting on there. If they are built by veteran-owned businesses, it's a taste of what Cobes can do and like what he puts together. And the idea is we encourage people to go on. They can access it for free. And when they realise how high level his fucking work is, you can go, all right, I want some shit that's more customised to me, and then get hold of Cobes, and he'll hook you up. But yeah, his program went live last week before.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that and hearing the feedback. But
Yeah, sick.
I just want to say thanks to you guys for bringing me on as an ambassador. I'm honoured and privileged to be a part of it. And I'm really fucking proud that you asked me to be a part of it, man. So
Cheers, bro.
thank you guys.
Cheers,
very
man.
much.
Love having you.
Going on. We're gonna go do some more meditation and omming. So I'm gonna get my Marley beads, guys. See you later.
Namaste.
Namaste.
That was good. What time is it? Oh, a little bit up.